The Nashville Predators are out of the playoffs, and that's leaving fans with a lot of frustration and quite a bit of free time. On today's Locked On Predators, we are going to talk about three teams Nashville Predators fans may want to jump on the bandwagon with as the playoffs continue.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everyone, thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. I am one of your hosts, Ann Kimmel. I am a writer at ontheforecheck.com, and I am usually joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Nick Morgan. Nick is away on a much-needed vacation, but don't worry, we still have plenty to talk about here at Locked On Predators. You know, it is the off season, but just because the Preds aren't on the ice doesn't mean that Locked On Predators doesn't have a lot that we want to cover with you this off season. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to do our player reviews and reports, including our one word to describe each player's season. We're going to take a look at some of the depth pieces that the Nashville Predators have brought in. Who needs to stay? Maybe who needs to go? We're going to talk about some off-season moves we think the Nashville Predators might be interested in making. And of course, the big thing all Nashville Predators fans will be doing, Filip Forsberg watch. We are going to keep our ears out and eyes out for updates on Filip Forsberg's contract situation. Will we see him back next year, or has Nashville seen the last of Filip Forsberg in a Predators uniform? It is almost too painful to think about. But today we still have playoff hockey going on. And we thought we would take a fun, quick look at some top contenders for the Stanley Cup. You know, we have the Nashville Predators out of it, but you may still want to pick a team and root for them. So we are going to talk about three teams that we think have a real shot at winning the Stanley Cup and why you may want to root for them as the playoffs continue. We talked with some of our Locked On podcast counterparts to get their inside scoop, and we're going to share those interviews with you today. Of course, the first team that we're going to talk about that you may want to root for as the playoffs continue is a little bit of a tough one. Like, I might choke when I say it, but the truth is, you may want to root for the Colorado Avalanche. You know, the Predators went 3-1 in the regular season against Colorado. Nick and I really kind of felt like the Predators may be able to challenge a really stacked Avalanche team in the playoffs. I think we all know how that went. The Predators really peaked at the wrong time this season and sort of limped through April. It was a tough April schedule in their defense, but they really limped through April and were swept in 4 games against the Avalanche. All of that came because the Predators dropped a 4-0 lead against the Arizona Coyotes. This might have been a much different postseason, or at least a more interesting, perhaps longer postseason, if the Predators had been able to finish that Arizona game and face off against a different team, but they drew the short straw against the Colorado Avalanche. This is a fast, relentless team, as we all saw, and this is a team that is built for a cup run for sure. If you look at that playoff series against the Predators, and I think we probably all have it still burned in our brain and not in the fun way. You know, you look at some of the standouts for Colorado. You have Nathan MacKinnon, who had at least one goal in each of the 4 games. Cale Makar finished the series with 10 points. You had solid goaltending in this game. This is a team that is just built to contend. And that's exactly what they did in the first round. They really made it look easy against the Predators. And let's be fair, the Predators didn't set themselves up for success. UC Saros out with an injury. They also just couldn't address and clean up the penalty situation. And Colorado made them pay. Going into the playoffs, Colorado was a little bit shaky in their power play. They had sort of fallen off a little bit. Well, Nashville gave them plenty of chances to practice, and it hurt them in the end. So really, the Colorado Avalanche, they've kind of been a favorite. The league has sort of looked at them, even in the preseason, as this is a team that we're going to see in the postseason, and this is a team that may be able to go far. So why would Nashville Predators fans want to root for Colorado Avalanche? You know, it was a I'm trying to think of what the nice word is. It was a heated at times online snark fest between Avs fans and Predators fans. And Avs fans are not always maybe the most gracious winners, but I imagine Nashville Predators fans, we were probably all pretty frustrated as well. So why would we want to maybe even jump on the bandwagon with the Colorado Avalanche? Well, here's reason number one. If you are going to get swept in the playoffs, the only way to make it remotely palatable is if you are swept by Stanley Cup champions. You look at this Colorado Avalanche team, if they burn through the second and third rounds with, a fraction of what they showed the Nashville Predators, there's a decent chance we're going to see them in the finals. And if they take it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, if this is the year that they win the Stanley Cup, in theory, that might take a little bit of the sting out of what has been a really painful, whimpering end to a surprising regular season for Preds fans. It may give us something to hang our hats on, like, hey, if you're going to get beat, at least get beat by the champions. I know it's a stretch, but it's true. The another reason I think maybe Colorado might appeal to Preds fans is that the alternatives are maybe not great. At the time of this recording, St. Louis and Minnesota are in their playoff series. St. Louis is up 3-2. But really, when you look at it, neither of those teams appeal to me and appeal to my sensibilities to root for over the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, Minnesota does have some former Preds. They're like the Nashville Predators 2.0. People go there and just explode. And you're talking about Kevin Fiala. We have, they have Ryan Hartman that we're very familiar with, and they're both having great seasons. But it feels a little bit like going back to that narcissistic boyfriend that, once you're in a breakup, you look back and you kind of remember things fondly when maybe that wasn't exactly how they were. Kind of going back to Minnesota and rooting for the Wild. I don't know. It sort of has that ex-boyfriend feel to it for me. I'm also still bitter because they put Rem Pitlick on waivers, and, them's fighting words as far as I'm concerned. So Minnesota, it's a little hard to leap onto that one. St. Louis, St. Louis was really good when they played the Predators in the regular season. This was a team that I thought may surprise a lot of people, may contend in the Western Conference more than people think. I'm not sure that they have been as stellar in the postseason. Minnesota's handed them, some challenges for sure. And I'm not sure if they have what it would take to beat Colorado in this next round. Plus, St. Louis has Robert Bortuzzo, who is still on their roster. And if you remember I think it was 2019, he was suspended 4 games for breaking Victor Arvidsson with just a ridiculous net front cross check. And, I carry him and a little bit the Blues in my invisible backpack of hockey grudges over that. So, Minnesota, St. Louis, I'm not sure those are more viable teams to root for me over Colorado. And honestly, the other reason that I think you might want to root for Colorado is this is their shot. This is their year. This is a team that is all in. When Nick and I did our crossover before the playoffs started with our friends Kyle Sullivan and Chris Maselli at Locked On Avalanche, they were very clear, This is the shot for Colorado. The list of unrestricted free agents on that roster is miles long. Andre Burakovsky, Nazem Kadri, Darcy Kemper, Josh Manson, Andrew Cogliano. I mean, it just goes on. And no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to recreate this team in Colorado again next season with as many unrestricted free agents as they have, and finance side of things. So this is their shot. If ever Colorado was built for a cup run, this is their year to do it. So it might be worth going all in with Colorado if you can stomach it. Well, why would you not root for the Avs? Let's face it, this is not a feel-good underdog story. Colorado is not in any way an underdog. They've been a presumptive cup contender all season long. They've been considered kind of the Western Conference's best option from the preseason on. So, there's no romantic underdog Rudy story here with the Colorado Avalanche. This is a juggernaut powerhouse team built for this moment. If you're into that, great. But if you like a good underdog story, you're not going to really pull for the Avs. And the other reason not to pull for the Avs is maybe you're just petty AF, and there is no judgment here. If you're like, nah, still can't palate them, they're still not going to work for me. I understand that. If you want to keep up on the Avalanche's journey through the postseason, you definitely need to follow Chris and Kyle at Locked On Avalanche. You can follow their podcast on Twitter at LOPN_Avalanche. You can find their podcast anywhere you find Locked On Predators. They're on YouTube as well. So definitely give them a listen. If the Avs are a team that you're interested in watching kind of make their way through this season, and, we'll kind of see how that goes. We are going to, though, give you some other options if the Avs just aren't going to cut it for you. I talked with hosts of two other Locked On shows, one from the Eastern Conference and one team from the Western Conference who I think could give the Avs a run for their money in the conference finals. We have that coming up in just a minute. But first, want to let you know that this episode's brought to you by our good friends at Built Bar. Summer is right around the corner, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on your family adventures and vacations. You can throw them in your bags, in the backpack, have a couple in the car if you're taking a car trip. Make sure everyone has a bar so that everybody stays fueled for your summer adventure. Built Bars are healthy and delicious. There is no more sacrificing food for health. With Built Bar, you get both, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to built.com and place your order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means that with Built Bar, you can eat healthy, but you feel like you're having a treat and not just some health food that doesn't taste great. They have great flavors with their Built Bar Puffs. It's a protein-infused marshmallow. They have a cinnamon churro, which is a favorite here. They have banana cream pie. And if you want to try some other flavors, you need to go to their website and order the mixed box. The mixed box comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs. And I will tell you, we're a mixed box family, and we've yet to have a flavor we don't love. Built Bar makes sure that there is something for everyone. And again, healthy option. Most Built Bars have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, but they are packed with 17 grams of protein. You compare that to a candy bar, and you're going to take a Built Bar and stay fueled for all of your summer fun. Go to built.com now to get your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry double chocolate, mint brownie, cherry barcia, my favorite. But look, they're all delicious. They have new flavors coming out all the time. So check back in at built.com. When you go to built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15 and you can get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. So, the team that most Nashville Predators fans anticipated meeting up with in the postseason, towards the end of the season, as it became obvious the Preds had a real chance to make a playoff, were the Calgary Flames. And a lot of interesting hockey played between the Flames and the Predators. Again, the Predators kind of choked in that Arizona final game of the season, where with a win or a tie could have been facing the Calgary Flames in the postseason. Instead, they blew a 4-0 lead and faced off against the Avs. We know how that went. We don't have to revisit that. But the Calgary Flames, this is a really interesting team in the West. It's one that I don't think most people had on their radar. And so I invited Jess Bellmosto, she is the host of Locked On Flames, to join me and talk about Calgary's first round series against the Dallas Stars and why Nashville Predators fans may want to jump on the Flames bandwagon. So I am joined now by my Locked On Flames counterpart and good friend Jess Bellmosto. She is going to talk to us about why Nashville Predators fans may want to root for the Calgary Flames in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So Jess, you're still busy. You're still working. We over here at Locked On Predators, we're just chilling now. How's the season and postseason going?
Good. I think that the expectation for the regular season was hit out of the ballpark. Nobody expected this team to truly be a Stanley Cup favorite or even win the division. So who doesn't love a good underdog story, honestly? So
very true. That is an excellent selling point. So we talked about the beginning of the season, expectations not off the charts for the Calgary Flames. What were some of the things that happened during the season that you think got the Flames into a position where they're a legit contender?
Yeah, I think that moving Gaudreau up to the top line and separating him from Sean Monahan and the revolving right wing of the second line really helped this team reach their full potential and pushed their offense to a whole new level. And the solution was there the entire time.
Yep. It's so funny how it just takes one or two decisions and it can flip something. Talk to me real quick about goaltending. We have something in common now about goaltending for our teams, both Vezina finalists. So talk a little bit about Markstrom and what his season's been like.
Yeah, Jacob Markstrom has been absolutely phenomenal this season. I think he just makes it look so easy that it's like, oh, anybody should be able to do that. But no, that's why he's nominated for a Vezina and led the league in shutouts through the regular season. And he has just put on such a great performance regular season and through the playoffs. And if you like UC Saros, then you will love Jacob Markstrom because they have very similar mechanics.
Yep. And we do love UC Saros. We, of course, did not have him for the playoffs. Not sure how much different that would have made. So the Nashville Predators could have been facing the Calgary Flames in the playoffs had they not pooped the bed against the Arizona Coyotes in their last game. How is the series with the Dallas Stars, and how do you feel like the Flames are matching up against them?
I hate playing the Stars, mainly because I think that they're like a secretly dirty team that just they're just not good for my blood pressure. Whenever
Preach it.
Yeah, I think that it would have been a lot more fun to play the Predators, and of course, I'm not just saying that because I'm on your show, but I was really looking forward to it once it was after that one game that they had where Lucic like threw Matt Duchene and all that stuff. I was so excited. I was like, let's go. This is going to be such a great series. I think it wouldn't have been as physical of a series in terms of penalties and whatnot, but I think that it kind of would have been a goaltending clinic for Jacob Markstrom.
It would have been amazing had we had Saros and Markstrom in
Yeah.
net. And I think everybody in the NHL really wanted to see that matchup. So I just apologize on behalf of the Predators for there's a number of reasons why we hate it went the way it did. Obviously,
Yeah.
we were swept and we're out. So what is it about the Flames that make you think that they are a legit contender for the cup?
I'm gonna be really cliche here and
Hmm.
sound like a hockey man, but it's their grit, it's the
Hmm.
resilience, it's their ability to just kind of move on, one game at a time. You put the loss behind you, you get back on your horse, and you take the next one. I think that obviously they're a fun group. There's a lot of chemistry there between the whole organization, not even just the players on the ice, but they're really special, and that level of communication and chemistry has been really nice to watch.
Yeah. Was this a surprise to you this season? Just as somebody who
Yeah.
has followed this team, who has seen them through some ups and some downs, this was kind of a surprise season for you as well?
Oh, it was a huge surprise for me, mainly because I had high expectations for them last year,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, like we're gonna manage those expectations this year, and just kind of, okay, like they could be a wild card team, or it could be, Vegas, and then the Oilers, and maybe the Flames in the standings. But obviously, we know Vegas crapped the bed, which
Yep.
everyone wins in that case. But I think that it was just the expectations were exceeded, and it wasn't in like an unrealistic way either. That was like the momentum, and it wasn't sustainable. A lot of
Right.
people did worry about it being unsustainable, but nope,
Clearly,
it
it's
clearly
working.
yeah,
So,
it
what
was.
are some weaknesses or maybe concerns as you look at them going deeper in the playoffs? Are there anything that you think they need to pay extra attention to if they're really going to make a deep run?
Absolutely. I think that it could just be this series because of how everything started within like the first 20 minutes. Rasmus Anderson and John Klingberg are getting bounced from the game. So it's kind of been like a little like back and forth, like revenge sort of thing. But I
Hmm.
think their penalties, I think that really needs to be reined in. I think it's just something that's going to cost them a game or two, or maybe even a series if they can't get it under control.
Learn from the Nashville Predators, Calgary Flames. Like, learn from our mistakes. You will be sitting on the outside looking in if you don't take care of penalties. Ask me how I know. All right.
No,
So,
but it's
who
the truth.
Yeah, it is. And the Nashville Predators had a good year with special teams, but at some point there is always a team that is going to make you pay. And
Yeah.
we ran into ours right off the bat, and here we are eating popcorn, talking about why we need to become fans of the Calgary Flames. So learn from us. So who are some players on the roster that you think Nashville Predators fans should keep an eye on?
I would say, I mean, obviously, Jacob Markstrom, if you love
Sure,
goaltending.
sure.
Johnny Gaudreau, he is my favorite favorite player in the league right now, honestly.
Yes.
Just he's like 5'9". He has this offensive ability to just, he was second in the league in points. And just he's had this nice like little underdog story, and I love a good underdog. And when I look at the Predators, I think of them as underdogs too, because
Yes.
non-traditional hockey market. All these people who are just like, oh well, it's Nashville. They're not a hockey city. Yes, they are. They
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Um, oh God, I'm trying to think. Noah Hannafin. He is a
Okay.
fantastic defenseman. Absolutely love him. Um, I just all the defensemen really are. Yeah, I would say all the defensemen. I think they all bring such a nice
Yep.
touch to the game and get the job done.
Yep. Now, I would be remiss if I talked to you from the Calgary Flames and
Yes.
did not ask on behalf of the hearts of all Nashville Predators fans, how is Callie Yarncrook?
He's good.
He's so great. I will tell you, it was a heartbreaking day when he went to Seattle and we saw him go to Calgary. And I think you have a lot going in your favor because Nashville Predators fans may jump on this Flames bandwagon strictly because we love Cali. So how is he doing? How has his transition been to the team? What are you
Yeah.
seeing from him?
Unfortunately, he's kind of been a little snake bitten. He
Yeah.
hadn't had a point. He didn't have a point through the end of the regular season after the deadline, but he has had some really great moments during the playoffs, whether it be playmaking and cycling the puck, or if it's him getting shots on goal. And there was one over the weekend. He shot the puck. No, it was Monday night, and he shot the puck, and I was like, "This is it, and it was just wide, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
come on." So I think what he needs is some more love from the Nashville fans.
okay. Well, look, that is something we have never run low on. It was so hard to see him in a different uniform. He was a hard loss for the Nashville Predators. So take very good care of our Cali Yarncrook for
Oh,
us.
we will. He's with his
Um,
cousin and with this little Swedish mafia that they have a little going on. So
love it.
he's in good hands.
All right. So, final pitch. Tell us why Nashville Predators fans need to become Calgary Flames fans.
Um, Again, I think the whole underdog aspect is a great reason to root for them, and they're just fun to watch. Like, I think, obviously goaltending's there,
Hmm.
and then you have Yarncroak. Who doesn't love Cali?
That may honestly be all that we need to swing to the Calgary Flames. Even though our teams had some really heated physical games
Yeah,
during the season, Kelly Yarncrook may be your ticket into some extra bandwagon fans. So
that's
take
perfect.
good care of him.
Come to me. We would love to have you.
Jess, thank you for coming on. Tell Nashville Predators fans, where can we find the Locked On Flames podcast and where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find Locked On Flames wherever you listen to Locked On Predators, on YouTube as well. And you can find the show on Twitter at LO_FlamesPod. And then you can find me on Twitter to obviously tell me that, and in a little crossover here, got you to punch your ticket to Calgary on Twitter at Jess Bellmosto.
Awesome. All right, Nashville Predators fans, if you have been swayed, go find Jess on Twitter. Tell her you're jumping on the bandwagon and make it count. We've got Callie Yarncrook, so I think Jess has made a fair argument. We'll see how this goes. Jess, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Best of
you.
luck in the playoffs with the Flames,
Thank
and
you.
we'll be watching to see what happens.
Yes. Good luck with everything, like with Philip Forsberg.
Oh, yeah, we're hoping. We're hoping. Thanks, Jess.
Of course, thank you.
So Jess makes a solid case for why Preds fans may want to jump on the Flames bandwagon and see Calgary mixing it up in the Stanley Cup Finals. But coming up, I'm going to talk to a Locked On host from the Eastern Conference who I think has a chance to see his team go all the way. But first, want to let you know that this episode's brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Our partners at Bet Online continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports information. You can find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. Bet Online is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet Online, where the game starts. So if you are looking for a solid bet for a Stanley Cup final team, you usually wouldn't go with the team that won the President's Trophy. Since 1985-86, that season, only 8 President Trophy winning teams have gone on to hoist the Stanley Cup. But I think this year we may have an exception. I talked with Armando Velez, who is the host of Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, about the Panthers season, their chances in the postseason, and why Preds fans might want to jump on board. Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. You will probably want to make Locked On Florida Panthers your second listen. You will get all the information you need from our next guest, Armando Velez. You are still in the playoffs with those Florida Panthers. Nashville Predators, we need something to do. So talk to us a little bit about the Panthers. What were the expectations for your team as you sort of started the season? Where did you think they would be?
I thought they would be somewhere towards the top of the division, maybe winning it. And it proved to be that where their expectations were from the front office. I mean, I think about the night of the NHL entry draft, the past midnight, Pierre LeBrun tweets out that the Florida Panthers have traded for Sam Reinhart, giving up a 2022 first round pick and a goalie prospect in Devin Levi. And that was just one of the moves that the Florida Panthers made throughout this whole season. And Reinhart has definitely been a contribution, leads the team in power play goals, and he had that game-tying goal in Game 4 against the Washington Capitals. And adding Ben Sherratt and Claude Giroux, giving up 2 more first-round picks for that, it's definitely helped the Florida Panthers get to the top of the division, and now the President's Trophy as the best regular season team in 2022.
Yeah, it's been a big year for Florida, and I would agree with you. I think everybody really had this team on their radar going into it. So give us some of the high points of the season for the Florida Panthers. What do you think was contributing to their success all during the regular season to lead up to a President's Cup?
A lot of high points in the season was when they would go a few straight games of scoring like 5+ goals. There was a time in January against Dallas and Columbus where they scored 7 and then 9 the very next day. And also with their 13-game winning streak, which is a franchise record that was just broken right before the regular season ended. And that was that at the time for the 13-game winning streak, that really propelled them to winning the division and the President's Trophy. And that the difference between that and the most recent record of their winning streak was that the Florida Panthers were not even in the division lead in 2016 when they went on their 12-game winning streak. That still led them to the division title at the time, but it didn't like take them over the top. And there weren't a big Stanley Cup favorite at the time in 2016 with, of course, Barkov and Huberdeau and Ekblad were still there. They had Jaromir Jagr in the mix, but this time around they have just a flurry of talent, and just as far as on paper, this is the best roster in Florida Panthers history, even better on paper than the team that made it all the way to the Cup final in 1996.
Yep. So you're facing off against the Washington Capitals in round 1. How is that series going? What are you seeing from the Florida Panthers that you are liking?
The Florida Panthers are very lucky that this series is tied at 2 because they haven't played their best in this series. I mean, even in their losses, they've had leads in both of their games. They blow a 2-1 lead in the third period, which is in the regular season, they went 39-0-1 when they had a lead after the second period. And their only loss was a shootout loss against the Los Angeles Kings on the road. And then they will go 0-1 already in the playoffs. So it just goes to show that the playoffs are a completely different story than the regular season. And they were able to have a little bit of an explosion in Game 2, never losing their lead in Game 2. Game 3, they have a lead, and then they let 6 unanswered without any type of response, and the wheels fell off. But then Game 4, they were down. They played some of their best game, but the goals were just not going through, and they were able to get one within the last 2 minutes with Sam Reinhart, like I said earlier, getting that game-tying goal, and then Carter Verhaeghe having a 2-goal game in Game 4. And Carter Verhaeghe's been great in this whole series. He was a little bit quiet towards the end of the regular season, but he's been definitely a big factor. As far as things for the Florida Panthers that could be better, they're 0 for 13 on the power play through 4 games, and they're still somehow tied in this series 2-2. everyone's expecting for the floodgates to open at some time. And also with Alexander Barkov, he only has 1 goal in 4 games for the Florida Panthers, and he hasn't had a little bit of an explosion neither. And Anthony Duclair has struggled as well. Didn't get his first shot on goal until game 4, so his time on ice was a little bit reduced. But the Washington Capitals have been able to clog up the neutral zone and take away some of the Florida speed that have helped them on transition throughout the regular season. So they've taken away the transition game, and the Florida Panthers have had to play more dump and chase throughout this series. And don't know what to expect from game 5, but after that game 4 win and having home ice back for game 5, the Panthers, the vibes seem very very good right now, or as Mackenzie Weegar says, immaculate.
Listen, Nashville Predators fans can relate to a player not getting hot in the playoffs. We went through that in our 4 short postseason games, waiting for Philip Forsberg, who finally chipped in a goal in the game 4, but we still ended up swept. So we are here looking for the next team that we're going to root for. We're going to bandwagon. Tell me, why should Nashville Predators fans jump on the Florida Panthers bandwagon?
You like an underdog story, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even though the Florida Panthers are favorites in the series, historically they've been underdogs, and this has been a team that has been, let's not kid ourselves. It's a small market of Sunrise, Florida. It's not a traditional market, and Nashville, just like Nashville, it's not a traditional market neither. So non-traditional market cheering on another non-traditional market when it comes to this sport. And this is a franchise that has never won a Stanley Cup ever. Only made 1 appearance in their 3rd season in 1996. Haven't won a playoff series since. Them and the Toronto Maple Leafs are the only franchises that haven't won a playoff series since the 04-05 lockout. So the Panthers, if they get that 1 playoff series win out of the way, I think that'll create a lot of momentum going into further rounds and hopefully get them to the Stanley Cup final. And Claude Giroux still looking for his first Stanley Cup. He made it in 2010, falling short of the cup against the Chicago Blackhawks. Ben Sherratt was just in it last season with the Montreal Canadiens. Joe Thornton, who hasn't played yet in this series, but I'm expecting to see him sometime throughout the playoffs. He made it with San Jose and losing against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And some of the guys who have been there, I mean, former Nashville Predator draft pick Patrick Hornquist, the very last pick in his draft class, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Carter Verhaeghe, like I said earlier, he's had a great series. He played a minimal role with the Tampa Bay Lightning when they won their cup, and he didn't qualify him an offer. And they say one man's trash is another team's treasure, and the Florida Panthers took advantage of that treasure, signed him to a 2-year, $2 million deal, and then right before this season started, they signed him to a 3-year extension. So he's making $1 million this year, but the new deal kicks in next season, making 4.4. And a lot of this team that's here, besides a lot of the team is here for multiple years. And outside of Alexander Barkov, Aaron Ekblad, and Sergei Bobrovsky, nobody is locked up on this team for more than 5 years. I mean, there's still a contract to discuss with Jonathan Huberdeau. Hopefully that gets done this offseason. But a lot of the core is long term, and some of the complementary pieces are here for 3 or 4 years. So this is a group that, sure, the expectation is to win this year, but they are positioned to win for multiple years.
That's a great place to be. And I know with the Colorado Avalanche, when we did our crossover with them, they were talking about like, this is kind of crunch time for them. So it's got to be kind of nice for the Panthers to feel like our window is a little wider than just this season, but really just get it done this season if you want to. Yep. We don't mind. So talk about Claude Giroux. How big was that move for the Panthers? I know it killed the Flyers fans, but how big of a difference has he made for the Panthers?
He's been a big difference for this Florida Panthers team, and whenever him and Barkov are on the ice together, Barkov is a left-handed shot, Giroux is a right-handed shot. So it makes such a big difference when it comes to faceoffs, depending on what side of the ice it's on. And you have both. If it's on one side of the ice, you'll have Giroux taking it. If it's on the other side of the ice, you'll have Barkov taking it. And if they get any of them get kicked out of the circle, one can just come in and take the draw. So that's a big part of that for Claude Giroux. And of course, he's part of Power Play 1 for the Panthers, which with Aaron Ekblad's injury throughout the end of the regular season, they went with a 5-forward power play of Barkov, Huberdeau, Giroux, Sam Reinhart, and Anthony Duclair, and that unit has improved towards the end of the season, getting them all the way into the top 5 in power play percentage, when at one point in December they were as low as 24th in the league on the power play. So they've improved in that category all throughout the year, and Claude Giroux has definitely been a help. He's been more of a distributor though for the Panthers, but hey, when he scores, it's usually big, and it's one that creates something different for the Panthers and changes momentum. I mean, just on game 2, he scores a quick one within a minute of the second period to really break the game open for the Panthers in game 2.
So if Nashville Predators fans are tuning in, they're ready to cheer for the Florida Panthers. Who is the player you think we need to keep our eye on the most in this series and going forward in the playoffs?
It has to be the all-time point leader in Florida Panthers history, Jonathan Huberdeau. He's definitely come up big all season, and definitely is the ultimate playmaker when it comes to the Panthers. He's definitely has such great ice vision that he sets up his teammates well. And of course, honorary mention, Alexander Barkov. Yes, again, he's had a quiet series, but whenever he explodes, it's a big explosion for Alexander Barkov. But Jonathan Huberdeau has just been consistent all throughout the season, and definitely one who just makes everyone around them better. So Jonathan Huberdeau is the guy.
Is the go-to guy. All right, so if Nashville Predators fans are jumping on the Florida Panthers bandwagon, tell them where they can find your podcast and where they can find you online.
They can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12, follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers, and they can follow the show on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, anywhere.
All right, so you've made a really good case. We're going to see how this shifts out, how Nashville Predators fans lean. Best of luck in your series, and, we may see your team hoisting the cup soon.
Let's hope so.
All right, thanks so much. So there you have it, friends. Some pretty good arguments for why you might want to jump on the bandwagon with some other top teams who may contend for the Stanley Cup. Let's see who you have. Are you going to go with the Avs, the Flames? Are you going to go with Florida? Or, who are you going to pick? Let us know at Locked On Predators. We'd love to hear who you're rooting for to win the Stanley Cup since the Preds are out of it. Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. Coming up, we have a look at the Preds prospect pool. How did the seasons go for those baby Preds? Where are they at now? And we'll take a look at the Milwaukee Admirals. And we're going to have a stats day. Nick and I have kind of talked about our feelings when it comes to this Nashville Predators season and postseason. We're going to have guest Brian Baston on to talk numbers and stats. We're going to analyze this season with him coming up next week on Locked On Predators. Again, thanks for making us your first listen of the day. You can follow me, Ann Kimmel, at ontheforecheck.com. You can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at LO_Predators. Find us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. And we are on YouTube. If you check out our YouTube video, let us know in the comments, what team are you pulling for the Stanley Cup and why? We'd love to hear what you have to think. Hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.